Good afternoon. Let's see. Frustrates me when my when my smart TV works slowly. All right. Gotta alert the Discord homies. Oh no. I think what I'm gonna work on today is I'm gonna pick up where I left off with in MCP server. I haven't worked on it at all, but I started work on it last night, and I was having fun. So I think I'm gonna keep doing that. There we go. All right. Gonna start rocking and rolling here. I tell you what, things are crazy here in the US. What's up, Network Bib? Man, you're on it, man. Whenever I go live, there you are. Hello, Suhas. How are you doing? Excuse me. All right, let's see. Just need to set my Slack status to lunchtime. All right, so you guys just got here, but what's up, Toad Sage? Network Bib streak. Yeah, pretty much. You always seem to be the first one in these days. We are actually going to work on an MCP server, is what we're going to do today. Oh, Nikki's here too. Nikki is back. Hello, Nikki. Hold on, this isn't. Oh, get stash, drop 0, and then get poll. There we go. All right. Toad Sage, what is... Hold on. Suhas. Oh, yeah. Suhas is also pretty fast to watch the stream. Yes, he is. Yeah, you guys are also... I always appreciate it when you guys show up. Nikki, yeah, that 30-minute rehab from last time set me straight. Nice. There was just too many nut jokes that day. Jean Louis. Hello guys. Hello Jean Louis. Okay, what is an MCP server? So it's kind of all the rage right now in the AI world, right? So MCP stands for Model Context Protocol, is what it stands for. And you can basically think of it like here, hold on. You can basically think of it very similar to the LSP protocol, language server protocol, right? Where you can have a client and you can have a server, and they both speak this protocol. So the Model Context Protocol does the same thing. You can have an MCP client and an MCP server, and they will know how to talk to one another. And so an MCP client would be something like VS Code, Claude Desktop, Windsurf, Cursor. They all support this protocol, which means that in order to enable those clients to talk to other systems, right? Talk to other programs, like, and there's a huge collection of existing servers that people have already written. Let's see if I can, here's a collection of servers, right? So what you can do is then you can expose things like Git or GitHub or GitLab or Google Drive or Google Maps or a PostgreSQL instance. All these different existing pieces of technology, you can basically expose functionality to those systems through an MCP server. And then you can plug that MCP server into your MCP client, and now your LLM has more functionality, right? So it's a way to be able to rapidly extend the functionality of clients, MCP clients. So that's what I'm doing. I'm not updated with the new stuff this month because of continuous traveling. Yeah, no, it's not new. Anthropic came out with it a while ago. Anthropic was the one that developed it, but then 2 or 3 weeks ago, OpenAI said that they were going to start supporting it. Which now it's got kind of the industry kind of consolidating around this idea of, hey, we need a layer here that's a common abstraction to be able to enable large language models to take action against existing pieces of technology. Instead of everybody going out and developing their own agent framework, right? Let's just say, hey, if you want the LLM to be able to use Postgres, make an MCP server and then give that MCP server to MCP clients. And then the benefit is now you get the benefit of kind of a network effect, right? So if you build a new MCP client, you can leverage all the existing MCP servers and vice versa. So that's pretty cool. Jean Louis, quick question. Is this normal to switch tech stacks weekly? Do you think I switch tech stacks weekly? I just kind of do whatever feels like I want to do that day, right? Because none of this stuff is for work, right? This is all just for my own hobby and interests and passions. So yeah, I do kind of slide around on projects. Like sometimes I'm writing C#, sometimes I'm writing TypeScript. But I wouldn't I kind of stay in that wheelhouse though. I don't go way off the beaten path and start working in Rust or something. Just trying switch from Ollama to LangChain. I haven't used LangChain much, but I know it's super, super popular, especially in the Python world. And I'm sure it's popular in the TypeScript world, but I've mostly seen people use the Python SDK. I think the biggest value add of LangChain is LangSmith. That observability layer is pretty baller. Yeah, you should check it out, ToadSage, if you have a minute. I've seen a lot of people that are just implementing servers just so they can kind of understand, which is kind of what I'm doing. I just want to be able to say, yeah, I know how to write an MCP server. I understand the basic idea here. I've seen people implement a monkey fax MCP server. like, random stuff like that. Suas, bro, I'm currently passing through my notes to better prepare them from my model context. Oh, interesting. Any advice? So like, Suas, are you saying that you're writing some sort of MCP server that allows you to access your notes? Because I think Pablo had mentioned that he did that for Obsidian at one point. I guess it depends on where your notes are stored. Toad Sage Monkey Patch? No, it was like literally like it's purely an MCP server that just returns, I think, facts about monkeys. So I more have used that as like an illustration of like you could just implement an MCP server to do really anything, to understand it. Nikki, I see you, dog. Look back on. I don't know what Nikki is talking about. Suas, yes, I'm using it for Obsidian. So, yeah, so Obsidian just stores your notes on disk, right, in a folder as markdown files. So theoretically, you should be able to just write an MCP server that just reads those files from disk. You might have to get clever about like how you query those files, like how does the LLM look up a note, right? Like, does it look it up by name, or you're gonna have to provide a tool to allow it to like grep? Maybe you use some sort of grep utility to grep through those files by keyword. Yeah, my dog is here. He's always here. He's usually he gets super stressed out for some reason whenever I start streaming, and then he can't figure out how to get relaxed again. But yeah, he's here. He keeps me company during the day when the rest of the family's all at school. Okay, so I think what I'm going to start with is so the MCP server I'm making it to work with the public API for the company I work for two reasons. One is it could actually be potentially valuable to an actual user population, right? If there's some users out there who decide, yeah, I'd like to be able to wire up, Claude desktop to be able to look at my OnSpring information. And then two, I already understand that public API really well. So you can kind of think of like what you're doing with an MPC server is you're basically building like an LLM layer on the top of an existing API. So in this case, what I'm going to do, or what I've started to do, is we'll have my MCP server. MCP server. I should just probably type this instead of trying to write it. And that's going to talk to the OnSpring public API, right? So these two things, this will basically serve as an abstraction to the LLM to use this API. So I'm basically going to try to craft tools or resources that the LLM can better use to talk to this API. So that's what I'm going to try to do first. Suhas, augmented retrieval generation. Oh, you want to do something with like RAG? So if you want to do something with RAG, right, you're going to have kind of what Pablo had mentioned in a previous stream. You're going to have to do something like, let me see. You're going to have to do something like this. You're going to have your files on disk. Make this a little bigger. You're going to have your files on disk, right? These are your the .md files. Then you're going to have some sort of vector database. And you're going to have some sort of process that probably like a worker, right, or a service or something that runs on your machine. It could be a cron job or it could be a service. In any event, it's going to run at some interval. And it's basically going to look through these files and then it's going to take the file's content, and it's going to send it to some sort of embedding model, and then you're going to store those embeddings into your vector DB, and then in your MCP server, I don't know why I'm mixing between text and drawing, but through your MCP server, you're then going to query into the vector DB. If you want to be able to do something semantic, right? You need that vectorization of the text so that you can do some sort of semantic lookup. And then I left out the there should be some sort of worker process, right? That facilitates this functionality. And that's probably going to be separate from your MCP server. But I think this is basically what Pablo described he was doing. I don't even think Pablo's here at the moment, but that's basically what you'd have to do, Suhas. Nikki, how about running databases on other people's PCs without them knowing? Just use a small amount of resources, and every PC has any small task to do, and send it to the host. So yeah, I mean, Nikki, what you're kind of talking about like is distributed systems, right? Peer-to-peer systems. I actually think there's a program like this for medical. I think it's for medical research, where people can basically sign up and offer up their computer's resources to help with research. But obviously, you don't want to do it without them knowing. That seems like a really bad idea. I was gonna see people offer computer to do medical research. They like crunch numbers basically for data analysis and stuff. I can't remember the name of the program, but there's a program out there like people can opt in. So it's kind of what you're talking about. ToadSage, could you give the context of the whole project, what you have done? Okay, so the context of the whole project is very early. I really have done very little so far. So basically right now, the basic idea is I have a server, which is the MCP server. This uses the MCP TypeScript SDK. So that's where that MCP server class comes from. Comes from that SDK. And then I'm integrating this, or I'm creating an MCP server specifically for that OnSpring API that I talked about. And so right now what I'm doing is I'm creating that client by grabbing an API key from the environment, from an environment variable. And then I'm adding some tools to a server and this is where you're basically enabling. These are the things that the LLM will be able to do against this API, right? You basically say, hey, you can check the connection, you can get apps, you can search for records, you can, and you as the MCP developer, the server developer, get to decide what those tools are, how those tools function, what are the inputs, what's required. All that stuff is up to you. So that's the context of the project at the moment. And so I'm just going to work on extending this to have more and more functionality. Network bib. I think Steven is slowly going blind. He doesn't see my comments. Let me see. What did I miss? I think the only comment I missed from you, Network Bib, was your comment about your dog. Your dog probably says to other dogs, he's doing it again. I think dementia's... Yeah, that's actually when I told that to my wife. She was like, it probably stresses him out because he doesn't know why you're talking. That you're just talking and like you're talking out loud in a room to nobody. Because he does it when I stream. He also does it whenever I'm on conference calls. Like I can just tell he gets like real worked up. And you're probably right. He thinks I'm going insane. ToadSage. Okay, yeah. So, all I hope that gives enough context. I'm happy to answer anything more specific, but that's essentially basically all I'm doing is I have a main entry point that starts the server up. This should actually be console.log. And I should say the Model Context Protocol website has really good tutorials for if you're developing a server, developing a client. That will really, like, it'll get you up off the ground and up and running pretty quickly. So I've got my entry point. This just starts the server. And then my server is where I'm defining all my tools. And then here in this tools module is where the actually implementation of those tools live. And then I do have some tests, and I'm using ViTest to do the testing. And I just realized I need to npm install my dependencies. Suhas, can you quickly evaluate the code I sent you? Yeah, let me see. Yeah, I've got time, man. There's nothing else going on. Oh, this is in Python. Okay, splits markdown files into smaller notes. All notes for file path. Checks if it exists. It opens and reads it. You split it by the top level headings. Oh, I guess I can. Can I pop this out into a separate window? Yeah, there we go. This is Suhas's code. So this is basically you trying to chunk it up, right, to prepare it to be vectorized. Which this is really, there's existing libraries that will do this for you if you want, but I don't see anything wrong. If you want to hand roll this, that's fine. Yeah, and then you just get a result of all your strings. Yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I guess your idea here is you're gonna evil laugh Python, yeah. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, I think the thing you probably want to think about is I think you might. Well, you need to get started with actually doing the vectorization and storing these into a database. So they're existing. Yeah. So if you look at something like probably TickToken or let's see, Python chunking library. Yeah, I mean, here's one that just I've never used this before, but yeah, there's plenty of existing tools and libraries that will do that processing of the text for you, like do it by sentence, do it by paragraph. I'm most familiar with the thing I'm most familiar with doing that with is in C# using the semantic kernel library. I think there's a Python semantic kernel library. Python semantic kernel. Microsoft. Yeah, I think there's a Python version of it. So you could use something like that. But like I said, there's nothing wrong with you hand rolling that yourself. But yeah, so you're gonna basically then now you need to get to the point where you're actually sending that string off. Okay, man. See you later. Have to go. See you, man. See you, Toadsage. So yeah, you're basically, Suhas, gonna just need to take these strings now and either use Ollama and use like Nomic text, I think is the model I've used before on Ollama for embeddings, or use OpenAI's Ada model. But you're gonna have to talk to somebody to get the embeddings back for your text, and then you're gonna have to stick those into a database, a vector database somewhere. Postgres, I think, has support for a vector plugin now. MongoDB Atlas now does vectors. There's some open source stuff that you can self-host, like ChromaDB, things like that. And then you'll probably find that you kind of want to like play around with how you chunk it, right? But yeah, I think you're on the right path, man. Looks like you're moving in the right direction. Okay. So I have a tool here that's designed to get the apps. But right now, the problem with my tool is it only gets a single page of apps. And so I need to fix that. So what we need to do is we need to actually have const apps, and this is going to be an app array like this, and then we're gonna do while. We're gonna do while. Suhas, I think I can run that AI locally. Yes, yeah. If you use Ollama, there's a model that I've used before. Let's see, Ollama Nomic embedded text is the one I've used before. So you can use this one locally. I've had good success with it. And then of course OpenAI, Anthropic, Voyage. There's a bunch of different. I think Voyage got bought by MongoDB actually, but yeah, there's a bunch of different ones. I think we will never let him code. We'll just keep on chatting with them. Well, that's the point of the stream, though, right? So I never want you guys to feel bad to chat, because and I'm never gonna ignore you guys, because if I really wanted to make a ton of progress on this, then I wouldn't do it while I was streaming. You know, I would, and that's why I don't stream at night most of the time, is because at night that's when I'm trying to kind of be heads down, focusing on stuff. Network Bib. Steven, look in Discord. Okay, hold on. In the general channel? Let's see. Oh, wow. That's a super small. This is, I'm guessing you're okay with me showing this on stream, Network Bib, but this is, some sort of vibration motor, right, Network Bib? For, a hardware project that, that Network Bib is working on that is far beyond my abilities. Which is awesome, man. Like I said, if you build the nanobots, I'll be your customer. I'll be your customer for sure. Excuse me. All right, so the first thing now we need to do is we also need const paging request equals new paging request. There we go. This takes a page number and a page size. So page number is just going to be 1 to start with, and the page size we'll just do 100. That's arbitrary, but I think that's fine for now. And then we need to take this and we need to stick it inside our loop here. And we need to pass the paging request to this guy. And then we also need a const, or not a const, we need a let total pages equal 1. And then down here, what we're going to do is we're basically going to say total, paging request dot page number is less than or equal to total pages. Thank you, Copilot. Let's see, if app response is successful or apps.data is null. I don't think I want this one. And then if it is successful, I need to increment my stuff, right? So I need to say apps.push apps response.data items, like that. Oh, I guess I do want that check up there. If apps response.data equals null. Yeah, I probably don't need this in a separate check. So I guess Copilot was right. I do want this here. And then we need to reset our pages. So we set total pages equals to that, and then we increment the paging request. Like this. And then here we're just going to stringify our apps. Now that should get all my apps that I have available. Okay, cool. And then I should be able to obviously I'm gonna write some tests for this because I'm responsible. But I should be able to test this. There's a tool. It's called npm run inspect. Sorry, I missed some of your comments. My bad. I'm also adding a summary for the chat using AI and tags. That's awesome, dude. I think we will never. Hold on. The two biggest problems I have right now is how am I going to move the arms around the main body, and why won't the electromagnets work? That sucks, dude. Sounds like you've got some troubleshooting in your future. Suhas, buy your product microbots. I'm Matt. Hey man, what's up? I'm Matt. How are you? Suhas, yeah. KR1V, what are you making? I'm working on an MCP server, a model context protocol server. If you know what that is, it's okay if you don't. But that, and I'm happy to talk about what it is if you don't know what it is. This inspector tool that I'm getting ready to open, this is pretty neat. So they basically built a small little MCP client, which I mean it's much more than a client because you can do a lot of debugging and troubleshooting of your server with it. So let's go ahead and navigate over there. So basically you can see you can also set environment variables in here, which is pretty cool. All right. Configuration. So I should be able to connect, and the inspector, when I click connect, the inspector will actually start my server up. And hopefully it'll work. Yeah, it says weather MCP server running, but that it shouldn't say that. It should say something different. Hold on, let me close that. And let's go back into here. Where is it picking up the weather? Oh, it's picking up the weather because I need to build this. npm run build. There we go. And then if I hit npm run inspect, we should be able to take a look at my server now. KR1V. Yeah, I have no clue what that is. I have done some programming before, but pretty much nothing having to do with networking. Yeah, so this is this actually has more to do, less to do with networking, it has more to do with allowing LLMs to use existing pieces of technology. So if you Google Model Context Protocol, it's basically this idea that there should be a common abstraction layer for tools or software to expose some sort of interface to an MCP client, which is typically some sort of LLM chat-like UI, like VS Code. What would be the other ones? Windsurf, Cursor, Claude Desktop. Basically, any of those types of clients to be extended to be able to do other things than just chat with it, right? So so what I'm doing is I'm building an MCP server that allows LLMs, or theoretically should allow LLMs, to take actions against a particular API, is what I'm doing. Network Bib, I'm from the Netherlands. Oh, I don't think I knew that, Network Bib. Nice. Kumar, hey chat. Hope you are doing well. How are you, Steve? I'm doing good, Kumar. Good to see you, man. Suhas, good night, bro. See you, Suhas. Suhas, I think it was Ducky. Network Bib. Oh, Network Bib's got to go to sleep. See you, Network Bib. Have a good night, man. Suhas, telling the AI how to use your website. Suhas, are you online ruling? What do you mean, Suhas? I don't know what that one means. I don't know how to say your username. KR1V. Crone. I don't know how I would say that. KR1V. Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool idea. I think it makes a lot of sense. Kumar, to put MCP in simple tasks, you manually write code for doing. Exactly. Yes. Exactly, Kumar. It's like a common way. It's like a common shared abstraction layer for providing tools to the LLM, and then the LLM just generates inputs to those tools, and then those tools actually execute deterministic code. Yeah, it's KR1V. Okay, cool. I'll just say KR1V. That's what I'll say. All right, so if we go over here now, we should be able to connect. And that didn't work. Let's see. Unable to create OnSpring client because base URL is not set. Okay, well, we can fix that. How do I disconnect? Oh, I guess I'm not connected, so that doesn't matter. Notepad. Okay, so we'll set some environment variables here. And I'm just using, that's why this inspector is pretty neat, right? Because you can just set the environment variables right in here if you don't want to do it some other way. That's how I'm doing it right now. But you could also just read them in from an env file. Yeah, actually, hold on. Actually, that's what I'm going to do. I'm actually just going to read them in from my env file. So I should be able to update my command here. So if we come back over here, I'm going to leave the inspector running. So if we come back to my package JSON, I basically need to pass, what's the flag in Node to load the env file now? Node --env. Yeah, --env file. So what I should be able to say is I should be able to say env file, and then .env like this. Let's actually restart the inspector since I changed the command. Okay, so let's connect. There we go. So you can kind of see, here's my tools. I can list the tools that I have. I have 2 tools. I can check the on-spring connection, and I can run that. And it'll show me the results. So this is like a nice way to be able to test your tools without having to hook them up to an MCP client, and then you can also do some other things with them. Okay, so now let's try to get some apps. There you go. You see I got a bunch of apps. I only have 3 actually. I only have 3 because this API key only has access to 3. But if I had an API key that had access to more, I'd see more there. Actually, let's open another tab. Kumar, that Counter-Strike player Simple writes his name as Simple. People like replacing I with 1. Oh, okay, so Kriv. Melgio, what are you doing today? I am working on building a model context protocol server, is what I'm working on. Akil. Hello, Akil. Sorry if I screwed up your name there, man. First time seeing you in the chat. Thanks for dropping in. Hey, bro, any genuine advice for engineering freshers? Like any technology to study or any tips for college? My number 1 tip for college, and this is just based on my own experience, is don't let anything pile up. You need to stay on top of your shit every day. If you put off the reading, if you put off the assignment, you put off the paper, it's just gonna stack. Especially if you're taking 12, 15, 18 credit hours type of situation, right? You're a full-on student. If you don't work on your coursework or your homework or whatever the assignments are, your readings, whatever it is, whatever the work is, if you don't do a little bit of it every day and stay on top of it every day, it's just gonna eat you alive, and it gets to the point where you just are overwhelmed, and then you start avoiding doing the work because it's overwhelming thinking about doing the work, and it just spirals really, really quickly. So that's my biggest advice for making college less daunting, is to stay on top of it every day, which I know is hard if you have other things going on, if you're working and whatnot, but that's what I would do. And that's what I did. I mean, that's 100% how I was able to. When I was in college, I worked as a personal trainer 30 hours a week. I worked as a medical scribe 30 hours a week. And then I always had a 15 credit hour load or more. And I finished in 4 years. And the way I got through it was like, come hell or high water, I did homework or reading or everything at least a little bit every day. And like if I was in between personal training clients, I'd hustle back to the break room and I'd study. And if there was downtime at the hospital in between patients, I was studying. And if I got home at 12 p.m. and I had a calculus assignment, or 12 a.m., 11 p.m. type of thing, real late at night, I'd just do the assignment. Yeah. IPP, hey brother, one question. Will data analysts be replaced by AI? I don't think so. I mean, I definitely think AI is probably going to help data analysts the same way it's going to help, every profession. But I don't think it's going to replace anybody. I mean, I guess if all you do as a data analyst is just crunch numbers, maybe, right? But I think most people in their profession add a lot more than just their base skill set, right? You probably offer a lot more to the world and to your employer than that. So I would say I'm kind of more of the opinion that it's unlikely that AI will replace a data analyst, but it's highly likely that a data analyst that knows how to work with AI or leverage AI will replace one who doesn't. Does that make sense? Finny Badu, I'm glad I got in right when you gave this advice. Yeah, like I said, I mean it's an n equals 1 type of scenario. But that's my biggest tip for college. I mean, college is hard, right? You're there, it's difficult, the coursework is difficult. And that's how it's supposed to be, right? And so, in my opinion, the only way to make it manageable is you just have to be disciplined and stay on top of it. And I guess I also the other experience, like I saw how my sister went through college, and I saw how my brother went through college. So like looking at some of the ways they stubbed their toes, and trying to learn from their mistakes. Nikki, don't be like me. I left it for when the time comes I need to do it. Which I'm not gonna say that's not a strategy. I don't know how. Yeah, I don't know. That wouldn't have worked for me, I don't think. So. And also, there's a point where you just run out of time, right? Like if you need to write a 30 or 60 page research paper or something, and you wait till the evening before it's due, there's just not enough hours in the day, right? You're not gonna be able to do it. It's just pure. It's like physics. You're running up against nature, the laws of physics a little bit there. Finny Badu. I'm a CS and physics undergrad, and I'm always behind. I struggle keeping up with semester workload. Yeah, that's tough, man. Those are 2 really tough majors. So I mean, tough by themselves, right? And now you're stacking them. So I think all I can do is kind of wish you the best, Finny. I know there's only so many hours in the day, but if you can do a little bit every day, and I don't know, man. This is tough. Suhas, be honest. How much percentage of your college lectures you remember, and how many of them you use, and not just Google? Not much. I mean, there's not a lot I remember from my college lectures. Like I would never, and Suhas, I would never say that like one needs to go to college. Like that's one of my biggest regrets, honestly, in life. If I could go back and do it differently, I either would have not gone to college, or I would have worked first and saved up all the money for my education and then went, instead of taking student loans. But no, I don't remember a ton of my college lectures. I mean, the idea should be that hopefully what you learn in college, you go on to use in your career. Which I did a little bit when I was doing food scientist work. There was much about like organic chemistry, and chemistry, particularly organic chemistry, that was particularly helpful when developing food products. But the minute you're not using that skill or that knowledge every day, the quicker it is to expire and deprecate, right? So now I work in tech, right? So like I never have to think about chemistry, really. I never have to think about those things. So it's like that, all that education I did in biochemistry, I could probably pick it up again pretty quickly. Like there would probably be a lot of like, oh, now I remember, right? Like, oh, now I remember what E1 versus E2, reactions are. But yeah, recalling it on a moment's notice, not so much. Akil, bro, I'm barely managing assignments and exams, but then you were able to do work on top of it. Damn, that's crazy. Well, and Akil, that was just like a decision I made. I moved out my spring of my freshman year with my now wife, and so we had an apartment and we had expenses, and you had to work, right? Pay your bills. Sumit, hey yo, what's up, Steven? How are you, Sumit? Suhas, I'm a college dropout because ADHD and bad education system and outdated classes. Suhas, I'm not gonna say any of your critiques aren't valid. Go to college if you want to. Don't go to college if you don't want to. Pursue the education you want to pursue the way you want to pursue it, that aligns with your goals. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to have to figure out how to navigate, at least in the United States, you're going to have to figure out how to navigate the university system. I probably would say, if someone was to ask me today, I probably would say if you have a degree, it does make it easier to open a lot of doors that otherwise you'd have to kind of shove your way through. I'm hoping that changes, though, as more people of my age get into positions of leadership, and are in positions to make hiring decisions. I hope we move away from a pedigree-oriented hiring process and more of a skill-based hiring process. But we'll see. Gareth the Gentle Hand. I think college lectures are just teaching us how to study yourself when you have to deal with new stuff in your major, since those lectures will be outdated the moment you graduate. Gareth, it depends on what you're saying is outdated, right? If you're talking about how the Krebs cycle works in your body, it's unlikely that fundamentally that understanding is going to change. There's just so much scientific literature and evidence to support our understanding of that particular metabolic process, or like some of the foundational CS stuff, right? Those things are probably worth spending your time. But I get what you mean. Like, what you're basically saying, Gareth, is you're going to always have to be a lifelong learner, no matter what field you go into. College is not. And I think that's where, if you start college thinking, I'm going to learn everything I need to know for the next 4 years to get through the next 40 years of my career, you have a bad attitude and a bad understanding to begin with. No doubt colleges could do a better job of preparing students for their careers, but I think there's value in it. Probably not as much as it costs to go, but yeah. Sumi, I was just basically talking on the don't think so. There should be a balanced mixture of category hiring as well as skill-based hiring. Yeah, I guess, Sumi, I guess it's one of those things that I think, if you don't have a CS degree, but you can build a web app, you understand how to implement authentication, I don't think I don't think the lack of the degree should hinder your ability to get a developer job. But yeah, for other, like, for example, the doctor, the lawyer, the accountant, those are all great examples of where, like, you should most definitely have to have some credentialing, right? That speaks to your skill set. Kumar, hey Steve, college is fun, isn't it? It's an experience more or less. What do you say? College is, so Kumar, I think college is fun for a lot of people. I was very focused in college at, like, I'm here to learn and study. Like, I would drive to campus, park my car, walk up, go to my classes. As soon as my classes were done, back into my car, headed back to the gym to go back to work. So I didn't really have the traditional college experience. I didn't live on campus. I didn't stay in a dorm. So I definitely think people have a lot of fun there. The one thing I'll say I had fun in college was I loved my classes, loved my coursework. Loved going to lectures, loved going to professor office hours and just talking to them about their experiences, right? Their research. Like, I would love to go back to school again and get another degree or an advanced degree. It's just too expensive. Nikki, I have sent something on Discord. Let me take a look. I know I swear I was writing some code, but now I've gotten off topic. Nikki, this compiler I made for Python. Oh, somebody also signed up to be a Discord member. You are approved. Let's see. This compiler I made for Python is amazing. It gives much better error debugging only on screenshot, but yeah. Nice, dude. Yeah, Python errors are a little scary, aren't they? Man, you've been working on all kinds of stuff, Nikki. That's cool, man. Good shit. And over here, I'm just figuring out how to wire things together. Let's see, npm run watch. No, npm run dev, I think is what it. Npm run dev. There we go. That's not the right window. I want to make sure the paging works. Man, I've already been live for an hour. Holy crap. That went fast. I'm gonna set this to 1 really quick. Okay, and then I think if I restart this. There we go. Connect. Compiler built in Python. I think it's a compiler for Python, Sumit. You can see it in if you're in a Discord. It's in our if you want to join the Discord. Nikki's talking about it in the Discord. The thing we learn in school and college is how to learn. That's it. It's not the learn things you'll apply exactly similar. Expensive both in terms of money and time. I don't know about USA. Yeah, I think Kumar, that's my biggest critique is I just don't know if you need to spend 23 grand to figure out how to learn. You know, or 30 grand or 40 grand or 100 grand. Learning is definitely the meta skill. Like the ability to pick things up is definitely the meta skill. Suhas, my was college study less, more fun. Personally wrote a research paper on how to study. Oh, that's cool. Copying stuff from the board doesn't teach you how to learn. Yeah, definitely not. Although, I will say, Suhas, if you've ever taken organic chemistry, watching somebody diagram organic chemistry and diagram it with on a whiteboard and you copy that, it does help you better understand. I know that's weird, but I will say that was an example of where taking notes in class really was helpful to study long term. All right, list tools. There we go. Cool. The paging works. We'll set this back to 100 or something. The max is 1,000. I think you can do 1,000 items per page. All right. Well, I don't have time to implement any other tools. I do need to add some tests though. Describe. Get app tools. This is Copilot excels at writing unit tests, but I'll have to do that later because lunchtime is over. I appreciate all you guys hanging out with me. Good conversation. We always seem to come back to this conversation about education and college, and which I think is good. I think that it's such an important decision in so many people's lives, and it's such a big financial, and it's such a big investment of both time and money that it's nice to hear what other people think. I have strong feelings about it myself, having done it myself. I still owe student loan money. I have 2 kids that I'm gonna have to prepare to go into the real world. So I definitely have opinions too, just like you guys. All right, y'all. Well, I guess this is where we have to say goodbye for the day. Nikki, no problem. Let's keep my mind relaxed while working. Now I need to hit the gym. Nice, dude. Awesome. I need to hit the gym too. Akil, yo, it was my first time here. Very fun stream. Won't be my last time here. I appreciate that, Akil. Thanks for stopping in, man. Hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Kumar, hope you have a good day if you're still here. Suhas, have a good day. Samit, have a good day. Oh, Samit, I realized that you asked about why I was talking about biochemistry when you jumped into the stream, and I forgot to come back to that. That was just because that's what my major was in college, was biochemistry. And Suhas had asked, like, how much do you remember from your lectures? And it's like, well, probably not a lot because I don't use it every day. That was why that was happening. Gareth, if you're still here, have a good day, man. Finney, if you're still here, have a good day. I don't know if any of these people are still here, but if anybody that's here, I hope you have a good day. And I'll be back on. See you, Kumar. See you, Nikki. All right. Bye, guys.